Hi, my name is Jasper and welcome back to the channel. In case you're new here, I'm an entrepreneur and remote marketing consultant, and in this video I want to talk about how I failed multiple times at daily journaling and what allowed me to succeed in it at the end. Recently, I surpassed 1000 consecutive days of keeping a daily journal. By the end of this video, you will learn how I was able to finally do it and also some of the advantages I experienced. Over the past 10 years, I had multiple attempts at keeping a daily journal. At first, I did this using my Moleskine because I really like the paper feel for writing down my thoughts. And also, there is some research that shows that when you're writing things down, this will help your brain process these ideas better. But the main disadvantage of keeping a paper journal is that you always need to have it with you. And this was most of the time also the reason why I dropped the habit altogether. So when I was around and I was keeping a daily journal for a couple of days or even a couple of weeks, there was this point in time where I wanted to journal, but I didn't have the journal on me, so I would just quit journaling altogether. After this happened a couple of times, I went looking for alternatives to keeping a journal. I did some research into the advantages and disadvantages of both journaling on paper and journaling digitally. And now about 3 years ago then, I found a way to really keep a digital journal. I did some research into these apps and I decided to use Day One app. Now, I'll get into the specific features that I love about Day One a bit further in the video, but first let's talk about the advantages that I experienced with journaling in a digital way. If you are journaling on an app on your phone, then most of us will always have our journal with us. I don't know that many people these days that go out without their phone on them. It's basically even more important than their wallet. So when I now have an idea that I want to journal about, or there are just some thoughts that I want to further explore, I can just pull out my phone and start writing in my journal in Day One. This really allows me to keep this daily habit going. Now, for Day One specifically, there are a couple of specific features that make it even better than a paper journal. Now, there are way too many features to get into all of them, but I'll pick out a couple of them that I really love. The first feature I really love about Day One is the reminders feature. I have my reminders set each evening, but I will also experiment from time to time for having this reminder in the morning. Right now I'm in a phase where I think it's better to have this reminder in the morning to have better journal entries altogether. This also makes that you don't forget to keep up with your daily entry in your Day One journal. The next feature that Day One offers that I really love is the ability to add multimedia to your entries. So sometimes I have a photo or a video specifically for that day that I really want to keep in my journal, or that I want to further explore in some written words after adding the photo or video. With the multimedia feature, this is perfect for me. Also, if you would ever decide to print out one of the journals, which is a possibility with Day One, you will have nice layouts to choose from to have these photos within that printed version as well. A third feature that I really like about Day One is the added location data for each entry. So each time you do an entry in Day One, your location data will also be added to it, and they will also pull in some weather data for that specific location at that time. Which is nice if you look back at the last year, for example, where you can see how the weather was that day, and you can also see how the weather maybe influences your thoughts or how you felt that day. And then, last but not least, you also have the On This Day feature. This is something that will show up once you open Day One, where you can see all the different entries for that specific day over the years. So, for example, if I would pull up Day One right now and I would go to On This Day, I would see the entry from last year and the year before that and see what I was up to back then. This is one of the features that really make it useful to also look back in your journal, because this is something that I wouldn't really do naturally, but because of this feature, I quite often go back and look at the entries for those days. This is also a nice segue into one of the advantages that I experience by keeping a daily journal, and that is if you look back at the same day, let's say a year ago, 2 years ago, you can really see how maybe some things that you were writing about back then really don't matter now, things that you were maybe worrying about, or you can also see how much you've grown since that day. and it's really nice to look back at those things. Now, one of the main reasons why I think I'm able to stick with this habit right now is because I also don't make it too hard on myself. Now, people quite often ask if I use a certain prompt to start my journaling habits or to start my daily entry, but this is not the case. Like sometimes I will use the prompts that day one shows, but this is maybe like once a month if it's really something that's triggering me, and I will start writing about that. But most of the time I will just start writing about anything that comes up really, and I'll go from there. Sometimes this can be that I just write down a couple of sentences. Sometimes this will go on like multiple paragraphs. Also, for example, when I'm on vacation and I don't really feel like journaling a lot, I will just use a photo from that day, maybe with one sentence, and that will be my entry for that day. I think being not too hard on yourself when trying to stick with this habit is really important. Now, do you keep a daily journal? What is something that you really love about it? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel for weekly new videos each Wednesday, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!